This week on Environment, the digital pollution behind a click. Internet users generate bytes by the billions. How are high-tech giants feeding this insatiable hunger for energy?
It's so important that these data centers are built attached to renewable sources of energy and not attached to the same dirty sources that are causing our current problems.
Waste not, want not? Impossible in a world where products are designed to fail. We target manufacturers who bully customers into the idea of out with the old, in with the new.
Manufacturers artificially shorten the lifespan of information technology, electronics and telephones to sell more.
And when digital waste is welcome, thousands of Chinese companies turn to recycled electronics as a lucrative economic lifeline.
It is too expensive for the Americans. They can't keep up.
"24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These servers are ready to respond to the explosion of digital information that you or I generate every time we use the internet. A data center like this can use more electricity than a small town and waste up to 90% of it, which is why high-tech giants are looking to put their machines on a miracle energy diet. France 24's John Finalio in California with this next report.
"10,000 square feet of ultra-powerful computer servers, processing every click, every tweet, every photo or video sent or downloaded. Our entire digital lives are stored in these machines. We are at the heart of a data center."
Facebook uses data centers, Google uses data centers, all major companies use data centers. They use data centers just to keep their systems, keep their databases going.
Around the world, millions of data centers, like this one in Los Angeles, operate 24/7 at full capacity, relying on industrial cooling systems to avoid overheating, backed up by industrial generators that burn diesel fuel. As a result, data centers produce 2% of global carbon emissions, a consumption equivalent to a country as big as Japan.
For the processes not to burn out, we need to give them constant cooling.
To reduce energy costs, most data centers in the U.S. run on electricity generated by coal-fired power plants, a practice that has come under scrutiny from environmentalists. And in 2010, Google, Yahoo, and Facebook said they would focus on using more renewable power.
Our data demand, our use of these technologies is going to explode, is already exploding. And so that's why it's so important that these data centers are built attached to renewable sources of energy and not attached to the same dirty sources that are causing our current problems in terms of energy use.
One solution to reducing digital pollution can be found in innovation. At this Berkeley laboratory, Brent Draney and his team have found a way to recycle the heat produced by these servers.
Where we're taking the hot air coming out of the back of a computer, running it directly through a radiator, capturing it and cooling the air before it ever leaves the system.
In order to face the problems associated with digital data storage, John Schaff is developing a microprocessor that he says will significantly increase the efficiency of data center servers.
The most energy efficient path forward is to have simpler microprocessor cores and have many, many more of them on each chip. So that is a path to solving our energy crisis.
But those innovations are still in the prototype stage, and experts say that if a solution isn't found soon, by 2020, the global carbon footprint of data centers could reach 360 megatons, the emissions equivalent of 125 million cars.
I change my phone every 2 years because it's cheaper to take it with a new plan.
It becomes obsolete, so you have to change it. After some time, the screen breaks.
I think I want to keep up with the trends mostly, but most of the time I break my phones too, so I'm forced to get a new one.
Many of us change our phone every couple of years, but how much is this our decision, and how much is this a decision of the company that makes the product? Planned obsolescence is a fancy way of saying that manufacturers build an artificial use-by date to force us, the consumers, to buy and buy again. But what if we decided to make a conscious effort to avoid the waste associated with electronics that are ultimately designed to fail?
The year was 1946, and this was the world's first computer, weighing 30 tonne and filling a whole room. ENIAC, as it was known, was still in perfect working order when it was dismantled after almost a decade. Today, our computers, along with modern phones, have become more advanced, more streamlined, and at the same time, far less long-lasting.
Manufacturers artificially shorten the lifespan of information technology, electronics and telephones to sell more. Today we use a computer between 2 to 5 years, when its service life is 10 years.
There's a name for this business strategy, planned obsolescence, and the latest tablets are a prime example.
You see, when you turn it round, there are no screws, so you can't dismantle it. It's as simple as that. You can't change the battery. We see it in all the tablets, well, most of them, and in the majority of manufacturers.
Here's yet another example. This phone is 3 years old and its screen is now cracked. We decide to take it back to the store using a hidden camera. To our surprise, we're told it can't be repaired. The sales assistant suggests we buy the same model for €150, or a better option, upgrade to the latest version. Instead, we try our luck at a repair store.
It's €49.
Whether it's a broken screen, a dead battery or a phone that's been exposed to water, almost all of them can be fixed in the workshop downstairs. These technicians repair up to 10 electronics each day. Here's our broken phone. 10 minutes later, it's like new.
You have to be meticulous, you have to be careful, because, for example, when changing the glass, it's very easy to break the motherboard, and then the phone can't be repaired.
When we throw away our old electronics, we contribute to mountainous quantities of e-waste. Efforts to improve recycling are underway, but up to 80% of our computers and phones are still dumped in landfills or burned in smelters.
The plastic in computer cases contain products that are anti-inflammatory, and when these products pass through waste incinerators, they emit pollutants that are damaging to the environment.
Others have taken matters into their own hands, like Damien Ravet, who tries to repair appliances on his own before buying another. The solution to this broken printer is in fact quite simple.
In certain models of printers, there's a piece of plastic in the slot that holds the cartridge that can come apart over time. You can just open the case of the printer and find the piece of plastic that is lost in there somewhere. Stick it back in the right place, and your printer will work again.
His experience has prompted him to create a do-it-yourself repair website. In a year and a half, the number of visits has jumped from 300 to 3,000 per day. While Damien Ravet doesn't have all the answers, the online community often does.
The idea of the website is to empower the people to consume less, in a better way, to make the products they buy last as long as possible. Planned obsolescence is not only the responsibility of industries, there's also the role of consumers, who can change their behavior to improve the service life of a product.
Add to that the role of the government, which is now reviewing the laws around the length of guarantees to encourage industries to make more products that last.
This is where our abandoned electronics are found at the end of their first life before the parts are identified for a sort of reincarnation. The copper in this cable can be reused infinitely if it's recycled correctly. Much of this labour-intensive work happens in developing countries. In Guangdong, in China, the industry now represents a high-tech gold mine.
Thousands of kilometers of used cables piling up. A livelihood for hundreds of thousands of Chinese workers. They sift through the waste, stripping components and extracting materials such as plastic and rubber.
The world is moving towards low-carbon, renewable economy. By recycling these materials, we saved $206 million on new materials last year alone.
A new way of processing waste. Back in the 90s, Chinese workers used to burn plastic sheaths to extract copper. These type of operations produce toxic smoke that have dangerous effects on the environment and on people's health. Today, workers are no longer exposed to these harmful fuels. Waste is now processed manually before being recycled.
To take the cables apart, you need lots of hands. There are no machines to do the work. You need to separate different types of plastic too. This requires experience and intensive labor. It is too expensive for the Americans. They can't keep up.
To cut down on cost, American and European e-wastes are sent to China to be sorted and recycled. According to environmental activist Libo, e-waste management standards should be implemented on a global level.
Every country, including China, needs a stricter e-waste management policy. The companies shouldn't just take responsibility for production and sales, they should also be responsible for products after they've been finished with. We need more regulation.
The United States is set to throw away an estimated 350,000 mobile phones and 130,000 computers every single day. In the meantime, China must also face its own fast-growing e-waste.
We leave you this week with a glimpse of some of the work being done here at Atelier Sans Frontières, which is French for Workshops Without Borders. The centre gives a second life to used computers, up to 10,000 per year, while employing more than 100 people undergoing job insertion. Once ready, these computers are used here in France, but also in developing countries, such as Cameroon, Ivory Coast or in Haiti, places all in need of technology to tackle the digital divide. And that brings us to the end of this week's show. Thanks for joining us here on Environment. We look forward to seeing you, as always, next time.